Hi, everyone. My name is Frances Queller, and I'm so happy we're going to have an amazing meeting today, and we're going to learn all about Yale. Just kidding, got you. Okay, good. I want to share with you that we have a big surprise. My best friend since college. So I'm turning 40 this month. I know I'm much older than I feel, but I have to tell you, so I'm turning 40. So my best friend, I've known you for 22 years, Karina, is actually here. And I want to kind of like start by letting you know that NYU was not just about academic, but Karina, say hi, Karina, because I'm putting you in the spot right now. Okay, my
hi everyone.
Hi, Karina. Hi, Karina. Okay, so I just want you to know that we literally
Hi everyone.
We literally became friends at NYU. We had a class together and we hung out together and we just like really enjoyed our lives. And would you believe that during the 22 years that we've known each other, we have known each other's partners. We've had, I have 3 kids. Karina has a gorgeous daughter. I can't believe, how old is she now? Karina?
She's 13 years old. Yeah, she's 13 years old.
Yes, and I tagged along. So I have a 6, a 7, and a under 1. And would you believe that all these years later, what really binds us? Hi, oh, look at how great. Look at that. So would you believe that we shared a class at NYU? And the class is really funny. Do you remember the name of the class? Is that so funny? Are you guys ready to hear? Guess what?
I think it was a video game class.
The class was on video games, and we both thought that it was an easy A. And I want to tell you, it was actually a very hard class. So I was really surprised at how difficult a video game class was. But I want you to know that our friendship lasted so many years. So I totally want you to know that here I am in the audience right now. My best friend from college is literally here and chiming in. And without further ado, we have the amazing Jennifer. Jennifer is going to introduce herself more formally. But I just want you to know that we are so lucky and we are so honored and so blessed that you're in the audience. And I really hope that both my growing children and Karina's daughter, we're going to get to listen to this down the road, and we're going to learn about the amazing NYU campus. As we're waiting for just a small handful of more people, I just want to remind both of you, and Karina can definitely contribute to this. So I want to remind all of you, I'm a child of immigrants. I grew up in this like little 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. My parents rented it, and my entire life, I just wanted a better life. I just wanted a better future for myself. And I worked my butt off. Around 13, I kind of had this like epiphany that I need to do really, really well in school to better my life. And I want to share that with you so that you know that, here where I am today was a very long journey. My parents were both immigrants. I was not surrounded by professionals. I did not even know doctors, lawyers, like I never went to their homes. Like, I'm just letting you know, like so much of this was brand new to me. And I want to share with you that you really could move mountains with your education. And I want to make that very clear to everyone. And Karina, if you're able to chime in and add, because both Karina and I went to college and professional school, and we both got graduate degrees, and we both have good, stable jobs and careers, and we both raise our families. And I really want to just share with you that you can move a mountain with your education and your degree. And Karina, if you could add anything, we're going to take another minute because we're waiting for a few more people to join in.
Yeah, so like Frances, I'm also a first generation student to go to college. And I have to say that my experience at NYU really shaped the rest of my future. I did my undergraduate at NYU, and then I went on to get a master's in Long Island in teaching. And then I recently received my second master's. So I have to say that NYU definitely laid the groundwork and the foundation to really instill in me, just how powerful it is to go to an institution such as NYU and really lay out the groundwork. Everybody would be like, wow, you went to NYU, and it just spoke volumes. I was in the city, it's a private institution, a public campus, and I had an incredible experience. And thanks to that experience, it just really snowballed into everything that, I have done and have accomplished.
And both of our parents did not speak English. My parents speak Russian. Karina's parents speak Spanish. Like, our parents were immigrants. They were not homeowners. Like we literally, they didn't have college degrees, graduate school degrees, professional degrees. I didn't even know what a PhD was. I mean, you just like didn't know. It was never talked about. So I really want to go that further. Do I want you to know that like your degree can move a mountain, and don't worry about where you start. It's all about where you end. Don't forget that 1 minute, and never think, because you're a woman, or because you're this, or because you're a child of immigrants, or because your parents speak in a broken English and they don't have good grammar. Don't worry, because you know what? It makes you stronger, better, wiser. Jennifer, I hope you realize how important this is for the kids. Thank you so much for doing this. Jennifer is not being paid. Jennifer was just asked to do this, and she said yes. And I want all of you to know that she's just taking her time to do it from the heart. This isn't really like someone who has any kind of agenda or source. She really just wants to help. And this is something that we're just really, really lucky. Thank you so much. Karina just happened to call me at 6:59. I'm not even kidding you. I'm just like, this is a great time. Like, who better to call me right now? So just keep that in mind as you're listening to this webinar, that the stars have aligned. And I'm really, really thankful that we have this. Without further ado, Jennifer, I'm going to put you on the spotlight because you're the, big guest speaker for today. And I'm going to spotlight you from here on. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Karina, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
I very much agree and love the message around how much education can really propel folks' lives further. I am also a first generation college student. Still very much the only person in my immediate family to have a college degree. And really that was a lot of the reason why I came into this work, into both supporting students on the high school side. I was a former college advisor, and now here at NYU as an admissions counselor, and really trying to push institutions like NYU to continue to be accessible to first generation students, to move mountains in their own way, to become more affordable as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But all in all, I really do hope that you all see me, but also our admissions team, not only as representatives of NYU as a whole, but as folks who are really just invested in making sure that you all have the information you need to approach the college admissions process. So formally, I'll introduce myself and say, my name is Jennifer Chicon. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at NYU. And what that really means is that my primary role is to both recruit students. And so I do sessions like these in my territories or assigned areas, attend college fairs, host campus tours and the like. But I also review applications. And so much of today's session is really going to be focused on how to approach the application for NYU, because many of the decisions that you're making on the application itself will impact our admissions review process. At any point in time, y'all, if there are questions that come up, please either raise your hand or add them to the chat. I really want to make sure that you're leaving with the information that you are most interested in today. I could spend hours upon hours upon hours talking about NYU and love to do so. But of course, we only have so much time together today. So before we jump into the application itself, I do just want to share 2 points that you all will have to figure out as you do your research on NYU before actually logging into the Common Application. The first part of that is what notification plan you're applying to. So you'll notice that NYU has 3 different admissions deadlines depending on when you choose to apply or how you choose to apply. The biggest distinction here is that we have early decision, which is a binding commitment to NYU, meaning you are only applying to us through early decision. And if you are admitted through that admission plan, you'll have to attend. You're making that commitment. It actually requires you to submit a contract as a part of your Common Application, which is signed by a counselor and a family member, typically a parent, as a part of that agreement. It is really a great option if you know that NYU is the place you want to attend. But of course, it also means that you don't necessarily have the chance to compare financial aid packages at the end of the day, because it is also an earlier timeline, as you can see on this slide here as well. The other thing I'll just mention about early decision is that we do act very affirmatively for students who are applying early decision. Our class is about 50% filled, meaning we take almost half of our incoming class through early decision. And so if you're looking to, one, let us know just how interested you are in NYU, but also get to see, where you might be attending school earlier on in your admissions process, this might be a great option. The other application plan is regular decision. This is a non-binding agreement, so you're not committed to attending NYU, but it does give you this option to apply, and you also have the opportunity there to determine whether or not this is the best choice when you have other offers at that point in time, and also the financial aid packages to compare along the line. So again, as you're doing your research, determine which plan makes the most sense. And then alongside the plan, you'll also have to determine what program. And this is the part about NYU that can be a little bit complicated. So I hope as we talk a little about NYU and the way it's structured, you all will have a chance to understand how best to apply. And again, we'll be navigating the application so you can see visually what this looks like and what it means to us in the review process. So NYU today is actually a global network. I know many of you all are very familiar with our New York City campus. But we essentially have 3 degree granting campuses across the world here. You'll see those highlighted in the colored banners. We have our flagship campus in New York City, a campus in Abu Dhabi, and a campus in Shanghai. You are able to apply to 1, 2, or all 3 of these campuses. And again, I will point out where on the application that comes to be. But essentially, each of these are all NYU campuses. You can earn your bachelor's degree from any one of these. They are distinct in what they offer, both in terms of size, majors, and some of the more cultural immersion pieces of the campuses themselves. I'm not going to go into too much detail about each of them, but I really want to emphasize that you really have to consider where you want to spend your entire 4 years of study at NYU. The New York City campus, the Abu Dhabi campus, the Shanghai campus, all have different benefits as a part of that particular kind of experience. But you definitely have to understand what it is that you're looking for. I'm going to go into depth a little bit more about our New York City campus. But one of the things that I definitely get a lot of questions about, and it can be a little bit confusing to folks, is, do I have to apply to all 3? Can I just select one of these campuses? And that is absolutely the case. You don't have to apply to Abu or Shanghai, or even those campuses not of interest. Really think about, again, for your, what types of programs do you want to have access to, and cities you want your education part of as well. Also see map that we have our academics, which are also, the difference here is that you will not be able to spend your bachelor's degree, but you can incorporate them into your undergraduate academic program as either a term away or abroad. And those are the campuses that are highlighted in the white lettering there. And so you can technically spend a semester in Los Angeles as a part of the film and television program, for example, LA being a media hub in the domestic US. You may even decide to spend a semester in Prague studying some of the foreign affairs within that region. Or maybe you want to spend a term in Buenos Aires thinking about language immersion and studying Spanish within that. So lots of different ways to engage with the NYU Global Network. But I wanted to give you all a visual sense of the idea that NYU is not just New York, which is always a really great option. But it is something to know as you apply, because a lot of the questions on the Common Application will ask you where you want to start, how do you want to incorporate the global network into your academic experience. I'm going to take a pause because I do see a question in the chat, which is referring to the program plans. And so with early decision, there was a question around what's the difference between early decision 1 and early decision 2. When it comes to our review process, there is no difference between any of the notification plans. We actually review applications in the same way, but with early decision 2, it gives you a little bit more time. to both prepare your application materials, but also receive a decision. The application deadline for early decision 1 is November 1st. And then for early decision 2, it's January 1st. So it does give you a couple months there in between, just in case you want to put together your essays, maybe your letters of recommendation, and really solidify your application, but also solidify your interest in NYU. It is a big commitment to apply early decision. And so definitely having that extra time for a lot of folks is going to be of benefit. Again, it's still a binding agreement, so you still will have to commit to attending, but it also gives you the opportunity to get a little bit of an earlier response in there. Xavier, I see your hand is raised. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Oh, my bad. What do you call?
All right, that
You
works.
mentioned this like earlier in the presentation, because at least for me, like a few seconds, it was like kind of lacky. But let's say I were to apply for early decision for the Abu Dhabi campus, which is one I'm really interested in.
Uh-huh.
If say could I apply to multiple NYU campuses, or am I limited to simply one?
You can apply to multiple campuses, but what I want folks to understand is that the order in which you rank your campuses really makes a difference in terms of how we review your application. I will do a little bit more of a detailed job as to what that looks like when I get to the common application. But the short answer is yes, you can apply to multiple campuses. If you're choosing to apply to Abu Dhabi as your first choice campus, and really if whichever campus you choose first, we will review that option first, try to make a decision, and then move on to the second or third choice campuses. That usually happens either separately or simultaneously, depending on what other campuses or programs you apply to. It's a little nuanced, but I will kind of show you visually what that looks like and how it impacts our review process when we get to the common application.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. Awesome. Oops. All right, there you go. I didn't mean to spotlight you, so I hope that works out. All right, here we go. All right. So as I mentioned, we did plan and then program. When it comes to program, you're choosing campus or campuses of interest. And then when it comes to New York City, you're going to be choosing your academic school and or major. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in a moment. The New York City campus is typically the one that folks have the most interest in. And so I do want to talk a little bit about that campus as a whole. As you all are probably familiar with, it is currently located in downtown Manhattan, Greenwich Village, which is a very rich cultural hub in Manhattan with lots of cool hubs around Washington Square Park, cobblestone streets, coffee shops, definitely a vibe, and lots of options across the board there to engage with New York City as a whole. The key feature of the New York City campus is that it is divided up into 10 undergraduate schools and colleges. And so again, when you're thinking about NYU and you're approaching the application, especially with NYU New York, you have to know where your program lies on the New York City campus, meaning which one of the 10 undergraduate schools or colleges you will be applying to directly, and then from there choosing the major within that. If there are specific programs or areas of interest that y'all want me to speak on, please do let me know in the chat, or again, raise your hands. In those 10 undergraduate schools and colleges, we offer over 200 majors. I would love to spend time speaking about all of them, but of course that is not necessarily possible. So generally speaking, I'll just note for you all that we have a liberal arts and humanities programs through our College of Arts and Science. Many of the artistic programs within the Steinhardt and Tisch School of the Arts, STEM-related programs at Tandon, our School of Nursing, business programs at Stern. So really many, many different ways to approach various subject areas across the board. I do see another question that just came in where our website strongly recommends a campus tour, but right now they're currently scheduled during school hours. So definitely something that has been a product of COVID, to be very honest. We are hosting in-person sessions on campus. And as you noted, they are typically Monday through Friday, about 3 times during the day, typically at 11, 1, and 2 p.m. So you would have to attend either on a day off from school and or receive permission to do so. So we are being pretty flexible with demonstrated interest. Attending sessions like this definitely counts as an opportunity to get to know campus and NYU better. We are also hosting a number of virtual events, which are also available on the website. Many of those are specific to the different programs that we have available on campus. Others are kind of sneak peeks into the academic piece of campus, meaning lots of our professors who are sharing their insights. So definitely an opportunity to still stay connected would be attending the virtual info sessions as well. The other thing I'll note is that if folks are interested in a campus tour, but maybe are not able to sign up for a guided tour because of the availability, we do have the option of a self-guided tour. You're able to download the NYU, excuse me, NYU Campus Tour app. And that actually takes you through the exact same stops that you would on a guided tour. And currently, because of the COVID protocols on campus, we're not offering visitors the opportunity to actually enter any of the NYU buildings. So in some ways, it is a pretty comparable experience, although not ideal. And of course, because we are an open campus, if you're really interested in talking to students, you can always flag folks down. Most of the time, everyone is really welcoming and able, unless they're rushing to class, of course, right? And you can't get them. But that is the one piece that I think a guided tour is really beneficial, is to get that student perspective, especially because they're the ones who are living the current NYU experience and can provide you with that as well. The other question I'm seeing is around grade point average, GPA, and SAT scores. Specific to the computer engineering program, but I will first and foremost just speak generally to the application process when it comes to academics and how we review that. We don't have a minimum GPA when we're looking at a student's transcript. However, I will note that we are going to be looking that you've taken the most challenging curriculum available at your high school, meaning the highest level of the core subject matters within what your high school offers. If your high school is offering AP level courses in areas of study that are related to your particular major, take advantage of that. AP, IB, college level credit, whatever the most challenging curriculum is at your school, we are looking that you take an initiative and have that on your schedule. For programs in the STEM fields, including computer engineering, we are looking for students who've taken calculus, physics, as well as chemistry, again, if those are available to you as well. And at the moment, NYU is continuing to be SAT, ACT optional. And so we are not requiring test scores for this upcoming application cycle as well. Of course, if you have them, you are welcome to submit them, but they are not required. And I will say that about 65% of our applicant pool submitted their application without testing. And we've been able to mirror that in terms of who we're admitting. We're trying to, again, admit that 65% in the incoming class as well. Yu-Chin, I see your hand. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
That is correct. I have a question regarding the different schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for these different schools, is there like a one uniform standard when assessing applicants, or does it vary between different graduate schools based on their interest?
Yeah, so the academic review process is the same. When we're taking a look at your transcripts, again, we're looking for the most challenging coursework that's available to you. Most students are ranging within about an 86 to 100, depending on what scale you're on, which usually is about a 3.3 to a 4.0, depending again on where you're coming from. And then SAT wise, our median ranges start at a 1530. But academically, all programs, we're looking at the same kinds of things: trends on your transcript, grades earned, most challenging curriculum. What will vary is whether or not your program requires supplemental materials or requirements, meaning some programs have specific coursework that we're looking for, like those STEM programs, calculus, chemistry, physics. At Stern, we're taking a look at calculus. in nursing, science, and math, for just trying to think and make sure that I've gotten all of them. And then our artistic programs are going to be asking you to submit either a portfolio or audition. And so that takes a point into consideration as well. Outside of the academic piece of our review process, the why NYU statement is extremely, extremely crucial. It is the differentiating factor in a lot of the decisions because it really shares with us both whether or not you've done your research in terms of who we are as an institution, but also how you might fit in as a scholar, as a community member on campus as well. The other thing that differs across the schools is also just the application pools as a whole. There are certain schools on our New York City campus that are more competitive than other, just because of the sheer number of applications that we receive. And I'll say from the jump, as many of you all probably know, that usually is going to be the Stern School of Business. It is the most competitive program across the board, both for first-year students and transfer students at NYU. And then a close second is the College of Arts and Science, which is our liberal studies or liberal arts and humanities social science school on campus. That doesn't mean that it's easier, quote unquote, right, to get into any of the other schools on our campus, but just to give you all perspective as to where you might fall within each of these pools, depending on what school you're applying to as well. I have another question here around the COVID booster policy for our campus tours. And so, yes, we are requiring guests who are attending our guided tours to provide proof of vaccination, including the booster. And so that is something that for folks to take into consideration. With that vaccination, we're also asking folks to have a valid government issue or school issued ID. Those are two checks for verification that we need in order for folks to join us on a guided tour. If you're doing a self-guided tour, because it is managed by you, it is not a requirement to have that vaccination in place. Awesome. Cool.
For some people who are joining, because there were like a good 20 who joined a little late.
Yeah.
Which is like so like.
Recap?
Do you mind just quickly just reintroducing yourself just so everyone knows? And this way we have, because I have all the parents and, you know, they're doing so many things at once. So if you don't mind, just quickly reintroduce yourself so that the parents know. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, welcome to those of you joining us. My name is Jennifer Chicon. I am an assistant director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. I was sharing with folks earlier that I recruit really all over the Northeast primarily. But I'm also one of the admissions counselors on the team specific to artistic programs within Tisch and Steinhardt, but also read applications for all schools at our New York campus in particular. The next question I see here is around pre-med, pre-health, and how to pursue that track at NYU. So on the New York campus, all pre-health advising is a track, meaning that it's not a full-on major or a minor. It's really coursework alongside your primary academic program that will prepare you for that professional degree and graduate school application process. We have pre-med, pre-occupational therapy, pre-dentistry, pre-physician's assistants, pre-vets, and of course, pre-law. All of those are pre-professional advising tracks available through the College of Arts and Science. You can declare that interest on the application, but again, it's not a full-on bachelor's degree that you'll be earning. And so once you are on campus, if you are admitted as a pre-med or pre-law student, you will have to select a primary program, usually within the College of Arts and Science, but of course, across any one of the 10 schools. Alongside the coursework that is required of you, you're going to have a pre-health advisor who will also be a part of your advising team alongside your major advisor, and options to be mentored by current professional health students, as we do have a medical school and a law school within the NYU graduate school network as well. So lots of really great resources just with the sheer volume or size of the campus as well. So I have a couple of other questions that are coming in around the application itself. And so I'm going to move on to the Common App. just so that you all can both see how best to apply, but also answer questions around the extracurriculars, recommendations, and that piece as well. So as I shared earlier, when you approach the application, 2 things you have to know before you even get on the common application: what notification plan you're applying to, meaning are you applying regular decision, early decision, and then what program you're applying to. And again, program at NYU means campus and major. Because our application right now is not active, I can't show you exactly where you would select your notification plan, as our deadline has passed, but that is typically one of the college questions that you'll see here. It'll also be prompted again once you are ready to submit, to double check that you're applying under the correct notification plan as well. The one thing that I didn't get to mention around notification plans earlier is that whichever plan you choose is both the deadline for your application, but also the deadline for financial aid, which is going to vary depending on what application deadline you choose, and ultimately also going to dictate when you receive a decision or notification about your admission status at NYU. The other piece again is around programs. So if you go to the common application here, we added NYU already. It's one of my schools. You'll see that under questions, you have very specific NYU questions to consider. And this is the part that can get a little tricky for folks, so I want to kind of take you all through this. When you're applying as a first-year student for the most part. When it looks at the class, it's the class that you will be graduating from NYU. So for those of you who are graduating in 2023, you will be the class of 2027 at NYU. I do get a couple of emails about this, so just keep that in mind. It is the class that you will be graduating from NYU and selecting that.
Jennifer, do you mind making it a little larger, just because I want to make sure everyone sees? Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's so much better. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So to the question, I think that Xavier asked earlier, right, of choosing campuses. So you'll see the next question that is asked here is, what campuses are of interest to you? When it comes down to making a decision, we are only able to award admission to one campus. So even if you selected 3, you will only be admitted to 1. If you selected 2, you will only be admitted to 1. If you selected 1, you may be admitted to 1. And in any of those options, of course, you can always be waitlisted or denied. But here we're going to go ahead and answer this first question, which is, what is the primary campus of interest? You have all 3 options being New York, Abu Dhabi, and Shanghai. I'm going to use Xavier as an example just because you did share that you're applying to Abu Dhabi as a primary campus of interest. And so on our end, we will see Abu Dhabi as number 1 on your application. Awesome. All right. You'll see here, again, just a note, we will only admit you to 1 campus based on that ranking. You can go ahead and list second or third choice campuses. But again, if you list a second or third choice campus, it is still possible for you to be admitted to any one of those campuses. So please do your due diligence, do the research, really consider, do you want to spend 4 years of your college education in Shanghai, China, in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE, or in New York City, right? A lot of times I have folks who add a campus because maybe they think that adding a campus means that they're sharing much more demonstrated interest in NYU. It's saying, hey, I really want to go to NYU no matter what, but then ultimately get admitted to a campus that they're really just not interested in attending. And at the end of the day, we do not make any changes to decisions once they are released. So again, if you are admitted to 1 campus, that is the only offer that you will be receiving from NYU. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say that Abu Dhabi is my primary choice of campus. Maybe I'll do Shanghai a second, and I don't have a third. Here you'll see the notification plan piece of applying early decision, 1, 2, or regular decision there as well. I see a question around being able to travel and study to other campuses during your time at NYU, and that is absolutely possible. The campus that you're admitted to becomes your home campus at NYU, meaning this is the campus that you're most likely to start at and then of course graduate from. The bachelor's degree in terms of your diploma is not necessarily going to designate which campus you've graduated from. It'll just say Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor of Science, whatever the case might be, except for Shanghai, because with Shanghai, you're actually graduating with 2 different degrees. You're graduating with an NYU bachelor's and then a Chinese diploma that will make it available to get jobs within the free trade zone of China itself. During your time at NYU, let's say if you start off on the New York City campus, you can travel to any one of the main campuses, so Abu Dhabi and Shanghai, and then the other 12 that I mentioned earlier, whether that's domestically, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Berlin, Prague, so on and so forth. Because all of those campuses, the 12 and these 3, are NYU campuses, you'll have access to NYU facilities with your NYU ID, no matter which one of those campuses is your home campus. All the classes that you take will transfer seamlessly within your program. They might be designated as general education credits or major credits, but they all will become a part of your major there. And then, of course, if you are receiving financial aid, that also will transfer over because the cost of attendance is the same, even if you decide to spend a semester in Berlin or so on and so forth. Awesome. All right, I'm going to skip over these questions around financial aid. I do want to get down to the academics, which is that program piece that I mentioned earlier. I'm actually going to change it back to New York because that's what I want y'all to see. So New York, and then academics. So as you all notice right there, depending on what campus you choose first, it'll then prompt the correct academic or major drop-down menu for that first choice campus. And then you'll see the additional options there. So as I mentioned, NYU New York has 10 different schools and colleges. These underlined links are helpful. They take you to the majors and programs listing. If you, again, don't have that in mind, but this is why I say do your research beforehand so that you can quickly just go drop down and choose your options. So here I've selected the College of Arts and Science, but you'll see we have a number of different options across all 10 of those schools. And then again, depending on which school you choose, you'll also have a drop down for what your primary program looks like. One of the questions that I get around this is, well, what about if I want to double major? You have to choose a primary academic interest on the application. So you have to get down to what is, at the end of the day, that one major that you want to spend your time on at NYU. And then you are able to select alternative choice programs, which I'll show you in a minute, which we can review for, but typically do not actually admit students to. We try to do admission to that first or second choice campus before doing an alternative choice program there. Once you are admitted to NYU, you'll be able to then go through that double major declaration process. The most seamless combination is to choose a major at any one of the 10 schools, and then that additional major in the College of Arts and Science. Because the College of Arts and Science is that humanities liberal arts school, and so it has a little bit more flexibility in the curriculum and the course requirements there as well. That doesn't mean you can't combine other disciplines, but it is the most seamless process. And again, if there are specific questions about a combination you're thinking about, I can definitely give you some insight into how to best approach the application as a whole. Undecided is actually an option in many of the schools at NYU. So here, the College of Arts and Science, you can apply undecided. When it comes to undecided, I would just think about what general area of interest may you have. If it's in the liberal studies, humanities, social sciences, general sciences, the College of Arts and Science might be the best option. But maybe you're thinking, I want a hands-on education and I want to study engineering, but maybe I don't know what kind of engineering. And so I can be undeclared in the Tandon School of Engineering. So it really does depend on what approach you're hoping to take to undeclared. The most open undeclared option is going to be within the College of Arts and Science. Cool. All right. I just want to quickly touch upon this other piece here. So when you apply to NYU New York, you're again choosing one primary school, one primary major. You will also be prompted to choose whether or not you want to be considered for what's called the liberal arts core or liberal studies core. The liberal studies core is a program. It is not a school. It is not a bachelor's degree. It is a 2-year program where you'll spend the first 2 years of your time at NYU taking general education credits, the core curriculum that's applicable at all schools, and really deciphering where you might want to eventually earn your bachelor's degree from within the 10 schools across the board. It's a great option for folks who are undeclared, undecided, maybe want more time to make that decision, typically during that second semester of sophomore year, and or are interested in spending their first year in any one of these locations. So if you're super excited about spending that first year abroad, you can choose the Liberal Studies Core program as an option and spend your first year in London, Madrid, DC, New York, or Florence as well. This is, again, another option where if you're totally not interested in both doing a 2-year program where you're taking general classes, maybe dipping your toe in your prospective major, maybe spending a year abroad for that first year, you don't have to select this as an option. But I did want to point it out because sometimes folks say yes, and then again, get admitted and don't realize that the impact of saying yes or checking this box means that this then becomes an option in terms of a program that we might admit them to on there. And of course, that same note is on the application itself. But of course, as you go through it in real time, lots of different options, lots of different ways to approach this. The other thing about liberal studies, it will ask you to rank your choice sites, as you see that there. And then the last piece around program selection is those alternative options. So as I mentioned, you do have the opportunity to choose alternative majors within the New York campus that you're interested in. If we have space available, which I'll be honest and say is typically not the case. But if you do want to let us know that, maybe I applied to the College of Arts and Science as a biology major, but I'm also interested in anthropology. And I'm also interested in biochem. So you will have up to 10 different options here to select those alternative choice programs. The only programs that are not available as alternate options are artistic programs. And that is because those programs require a portfolio or audition. And if they're listed as an alternative option, we will not be able to support you all in that process as well. The courses that folks are taking in the liberal studies program are transferable to all of the colleges or programs at NYU because they are core curriculum classes. Every one of the schools at NYU has a core curriculum. They do vary slightly depending on what school you're a part of, but the liberal studies program is designed for folks to seamlessly move into other programs there as well. All right. I'm going to go back up because I know I missed the questions around extracurriculars and recommendations. So I'm going to try to go to the Common App here.
Jennifer, I just want to make sure it's already 7:46 and I don't want to keep you past 8. So I just want to give everyone a heads up that we are going to be mindful of Jennifer's time, volunteering right now, giving us this amazing input. Okay.
Yeah.
So mindful, everyone. It's already 7:46. Go ahead.
No problem. I'm going to try to, move through this as quickly as possible. I'm okay staying on a little bit after 8. I do, again, just want to make sure all questions are answered. So here we are. How do extracurricular activities factor into the application process? So on the Common Application, you'll see that activities have their own section. And honestly, we are looking for folks who have sustained some sort of form of leadership within their activities or their involvement, whether that's on campus, in your high schools, in the community at large, in a work setting, even at home. The idea is showing us how you've grown throughout your educational career. So thinking about all the various ways you've been involved in specific activities across the board when it comes to that. The extracurricular activities, you have the option of adding those to the common application as you see here, selecting the activity type, adding a couple of notes around what the activity is as a whole, and then also whether or not you are looking to participate in that activity in college. The places where it has the biggest impact are when we go to assessing your potential contribution to campus. That means what communities you might become a part of campus, but also some of our honors and scholars programs that are looking for students who are going to be leaders, who have interest in research, who maybe have been involved in social justice initiatives, community service. Those are the types of activities that we'll hone in a little bit more on if we're considering you for those scholarship opportunities or honors programs across all of different campuses. The extracurricular piece as well is another way for you all to differentiate yourselves. NYU is really a community of micro communities. So we have lots of different pockets of students who are on our campus, which really makes it a very rich environment when it comes to having lots of different folks from various experiences sharing what they've learned, but also what they're excited about. And so really also highlighting that to us, thinking about what are the things that light you up the most, and how do you articulate that through the extracurricular piece on the application itself. And then when it comes to recommendations, so the question is, what recommendations would you make for middle school students to start focusing on? For our application process, when it comes to recommendations, we prefer to see recommendation letters from folks who have interacted with our applicants during high school. You're still welcome to submit other letters, but I will say that those for us are the strongest. If it's an applicant who maybe has been part of a summer program or even a program that started in middle school and then went on into high school, that is definitely a great addition as well, because they've seen that growth of a student. But we typically will ask for 2 letters of recommendation. One of those usually comes from a guidance counselor, the other from a teacher. But that also is going to be dependent on the applicant. We welcome applications to include letters from mentors, coaches, supervisors, other outside organizations, entities that have been supporting the student over some time. We're looking just to get a better sense of who they might be as an academic, as a scholar, as a community member, characteristics, personality traits, ways in which we get to know the student personally, because we do not do interviews. And so that recommendation letter really acts as that point on the application itself. All right, I'm going to stop sharing so I can answer questions. So let me go back up. Are the students in the foreign campuses mainly Americans who want to study abroad or foreigners who want an American education? So it depends on which campus we're talking about. When it comes to the Abu Dhabi campus, most students are, it's kind of a much more equal mix than it is at Shanghai, both from Americans, but also folks from all over the world. The Abu Dhabi campus is the most geographically diverse of all 3 campuses in the NYU network. One of the ways that folks have described it as a student is that you'll have a class of 25 students and everybody's coming from a different country or has a different nationality within that. So you're getting a very culturally diverse experience in Abu Dhabi. And then in Shanghai, that campus is actually developed as a cultural immersion. So half of the student body at our Shanghai campus are Americans or folks coming from the domestic US. And then the other half are actually Chinese nationals. And so the education there is really comprised of folks getting both the language piece. So you're learning Mandarin as you're on campus. You also are going to have a Chinese roommate. You're taking coursework to earn that Chinese diploma. So really a much more cultural immersion when it comes to the Chinese educational system. The main language of instruction at the Abu Dhabi and Shanghai campuses is English. There are no requirements in terms of knowing Arabic or Chinese to apply. When you are, though, a student at the Shanghai campus, you will be required to take at least some introductory Mandarin classes, just knowing that a lot of the work that is done outside of campus, you'll need to have that language proficiency. And then, yes, there are programs at each of these campuses where you can achieve fluency, both in Arabic or Chinese. The level of fluency will depend on the student's interest, but the coursework is there to become fluent across the board. I will stay with y'all. Let me see what else I can see here. Okay.
Guys are good. I just want to be mindful of Jennifer's time.
Yeah.
And you're going to laugh. Everyone in this group definitely knows I work around the clock. And as I'm sure you do, we actually have a Zoom for a bunch of 6th graders.
Yeah.
So just heads up, everyone, you're really going to push it past 8:05. Like really, they're going to be a lot of confused 12-year-olds in this.
So here's, yeah, like where is the Zoom?
It's super weird. Go ahead.
Xavier, I see your hand. You can go ahead and ask your question. I'm going to quickly just also at the same time post up our contact information. You all can continue to reach out to me, whether that's after this session or throughout the application process. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Xavier.
Sorry. I remember you mentioned earlier in the when discussing extracurriculars that you also look at like instances of like volunteer work and social justice.
Yes.
How would like working on political campaigns look like, kind of like, would that be considered volunteer work? Because I've worked on a series of campaigns like the Warren presidential campaign, the Andrew Yang mayoral campaign, and AOC's congressional campaign.
Right. So it depends on how you present it. In some instances, some applicants choose to outline that to us as social justice. In other instances, they'll outline it to us as volunteer. It also depends on whether or not you're applying. So on the common application, you also have the option to select whether or not you're interested in the MLK Scholars Program. And the experience that you're sharing is very familiar for scholars that we've selected. A lot of them are folks who have been working on campaigns across the board for many different political parties. And so it just depends on how you choose to present that information to us. We are asking you all to let us know how you want us to view you through your essay, through your why and why you, through the extracurricular activities. And so definitely an opportunity to engage in the way you see fit. Some folks also write about that as a part of their essays. So it just depends, but it's definitely something that would pique our interest when we're taking a look at the merit-based scholarships around service, public service as a part of that, and justice.
I have a second question, but I don't know if anyone else like has a question. So
yeah, after his, I'm gonna close up. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I did just add my email to the chat, so please do save that. And of course, you can always reach out to our general admissions office for more information. Go ahead, Xavier. No? Yeah, maybe so.
Xavier, go, 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 fast, 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 go. You can unmute. Go ahead. Oh,
really?
he can't.
Okay.
We have to.
I just asked you to unmute. Let's see if
my bad.
Okay.
What do you call? You mentioned also earlier on you were like kind of in applications you examine the rigor of our like schoolwork.
Yes.
And I'm also kind of at a crossroads right now because I really do want to be taking a lot of a good amount of APs next year. And I'm kind of struggling on which ones to choose. Which one would NYU look at more favorably? Taking something like AP Computer Science or AP Spanish, or taking AP like Literature?
What's your intended program of study?
I believe, what do you call, biochemistry or psychology?
Sciences, social sciences. Yeah, so I would try to lean a little bit closer to your particular academic interests. And it's not something that we require, but it will demonstrate proficiency in that subject matter. And that's honestly going to help us better assess whether or not you're going to be able to be successful on campus. So probably the computer piece of things. At the end of the day, we're not going to penalize students for having to make hard decisions. And we do have context when it comes to the transcript, because your schools are also providing us with a school report, letters of recommendation that'll also highlight what is being offered to you. And you do have the option of letting us know what choices you've made and why on the application itself. So I wouldn't, be too hard on yourself about making that decision. But again, just generally speaking, most challenging curriculum, mostly aligned with your academic interests to give us a better sense of how you might perform at the college level.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Best of luck to all of you. I know this process can be super stressful, but again, we are here really to serve you all. And so anything, do reach out and go ahead, close us out here.
So I want to take a moment. So you're actually surrounded by NYU right now. So I went to NYU. I loved it. It was a life-changing experience. And we actually have another presenter tonight speaking to sixth graders on a different topic.
Yay!
And guess where he went to college? Guess. You're never going to guess where he went. Mo, do you want to tell us where you went to college?
Hi, everyone. I went to NYU as well. I've been there twice. I went there for undergrad, and after that, I went there to get my MBA. I loved all bits of it. It was a great experience, a lot of great people, amazing mentors, people I still keep in contact with today, both my peers who went there as well as like faculty that I've built great relationships with. I think it's a great institution. I think it has a lot to offer in terms of a university experience for anyone who wants to study really anything that they want. And there's so many different opportunities to either study in New York, away, and there's so many people there that are willing to help you. Even if it's something that hasn't been done before, they're the people who know how to guide you through the process.
So you're not going to believe this, Jennifer, but none of this was planned. My best friend, NYU.
Y'all are going to make me so emotional. I love hearing this. This is awesome.
And we are both children of immigrants, and we did not plan. She called me at 6:59, so it's divine intervention. Mo Khan is a child of immigrants, just like I am. His parents literally immigrated, as did mine. Mo, if you could share a little bit more about yourself, because we did not plan this, but he's leading my other Zoom, and he's totally going to tell you that he is in my boat as well. I am honored to tell you I've known him for over 10 years. Mo, if you could tell her a little bit about your background, because as we're about to leave the NYU Zoom and start the Hunter Zoom, I think it would be really cool so that you know how much NYU impacted his life as well. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so my parents and I came here I came in 1995, like with a year and a half old. And my dad, for most of our lives, was a waiter at a restaurant. And my mom was a homemaker. And so the one thing we knew is school and education in this country is a stepping stone into bigger and better things. So I was lucky enough to get into Hunter College High School. And when I went there for 6 years, they had given me the foundation to then be able to apply and showcase myself as a college applicant. And NYU saw something in me when they accepted me, and I was very lucky to go there. They gave me a full, merit-based scholarship. We were always worried about, being able to afford a school like NYU, but, their financial aid office was great. And they have a lot of opportunities for little scholarships, and every bit of the money helps, and, it all adds up. Going to NYU, I studied at the College of Arts and Sciences, where I majored in biochemistry and minored in chemistry. And that's when the new College of Public Health was being formed. And so I also was able to major in public health. And so when I had done both, I had gone on to then, pursue possibly a career in the healthcare field. I went into consulting, and I really fell in love with it. And so after that, I decided to go back and pursue an MBA. And NYU, again, was the place that, I applied to a lot of different places, but there was something about NYU and the leadership that was there that had helped me, prepare for jobs through Wasserman and so on and so forth, that really made it all possible. And so now I'm kind of here where I am, having been, purple for 12 years, right? 6 at NYU and 6 at Hunter. And so everything about my life has been surrounded by, purple and white. And so I always feel like whenever I see any building, even in New York City now, that has anything that has to do with NYU, I feel a little bit better, a little bit more at home.
So I just want you to know that none of this was planned. We just happened to be running a Zoom for the students about the Hunter test. And would you believe that Mo, who is literally he is Mr. NYU. He went there for college.
I see. I love it.
school, for graduate school, I graduated from the Steinhardt School of Education. It was an extremely life-changing experience. I would never be where I am today without it. NYU just opened my eyes to a different world. So I really cannot tell you enough how grateful I am that, you're closing the webinar and that Mo Khan is about to start the next webinar on the Hunter admissions test, which is another great school. It also happens to be purple. So I just want you to know that, you should totally watch out for that because they took your color.
Yeah.
So share that with you as we're waiting for
Violet
people
pride all the way. That's all you gotta say.
to join. And I really just want to say, it's really important. And I'm sure you already, know this about my career and my desire to give back. And I'm really fortunate because, my English is very good and I'm able to communicate with parents in different languages. And as is Mo and as is Karina, who, we're all connected to Queller Prep. And we're just very thankful that we can serve as a voice and that we can communicate and we can explain these opportunities. And I just want you to know that what you're doing is just so great. So I can't thank you enough.
And thank you all. This is what I love to do.
Yes. And I just want you to know, we're forever connected. And I hope that we all get to meet in person and come in person. And, here's to good times ahead. And I can't thank you enough. And Mo, if you're able to just close for the webinar, and everyone please type thank you into the chat because we're ending this webinar and starting another one. This is so funny. So we just want to say as we're beginning a new one. And Mo, if you want to just say bye and hi to Jennifer, who was here. Okay, go right ahead.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, it's always, reassuring to see someone else who went to NYU because even if we've never crossed paths before, it always feels like we're family because of the experiences we went through at that common place. And that's why, I've been so blessed to have Frances as, an employer, as a friend for this many years, and as someone who I can really, connect with on multiple goals in terms of education. And a lot of that would not have been possible if it weren't for NYU to get us, Frances and me, to where we are now.
Oh, 100%. So thank you so much. And we're really, really grateful. Thank you for your time. And I'm totally going to send you pictures from the chat box of everyone. Thank you. And I love your background. It's so gorgeous. I want to steal it. I love it. It's so beautiful. And we shall meet again in person. Okay. And we are always connected. I have NYU in my blood. It is purple. Okay. Always. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay. Take care, y'all. And of course,
thank you so much. One big you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All the best. Okay. I'll send you the happy moment memories. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So everyone, I'm going to put Mo on the spotlights. Who's your favorite test prep machine? Who wants to tell me? Who's your favorite? Anybody? Favorite? Oh, I'm an hour two. I'm dizzying. Okay, are we ready, Mo?
I'm good to go once you give me the signal.
So parents, you're welcome to listen in. Hanging out with me for 2 hours is pretty fun. You get quite a lot of content, but we actually have another Zoom right now. So there should be an overlap of parents coming in to listen to the Hunter High School admissions Zoom. So I'm actually, this is going to be complicated. How do I record this? Okay, Mo, we need to think about this. So I just need to think out loud because I'm waiting for more parents to join. So Mo, I have this on record. So what should I stop recording and start recording again? Is that what I should do?
You could do that, or you could just record the whole thing for the full 2 hours, and then have someone edit it down to 1 hour for each one.
If I stop, let me try the stop recording. Okay. All right, everyone. Wish me luck figuring this technology portion of this out. So I'm going to stop the recording. Stop. Paused. No. Stop. You will receive an email when the recording is ready. So I'm going to stop. Ready?